The Galactic Council chamber fell silent when Ambassador Chen walked to the center platform. Around her, representatives from 47 species watched with their various sensory organs: compound eyes, thermal pits, electromagnetic fields rippling with curiosity. The massive cylindrical room stretched upward into darkness, its walls lined with observation pods that glowed like stars in the void. Chen had waited 3 months for this audience. 3 months of diplomatic channels, of proving humanity's worth, of demonstrating that Earth deserved a seat among the ancient civilizations that spanned the cosmos. She wore simple gray clothing, no weapons, no armor, just a human woman standing before gods, the eldest, a being of crystalline geometry whose species had sailed between stars for 20 million years, spoke in harmonics that the translation field rendered as words. You request membership in the Council. You claim your species offers unique value to our collective. Make your case, young human, Chen nodded slowly. She had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, but now that it was here, her heart hammered against her ribs. She could feel the weight of every eye, every sensor, every consciousness focused on her like a physical pressure. We understand you have concerns, she began, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. Our species is violent. We have warred among ourselves for millennia. We have nearly destroyed our own world more times than we care to admit. She paused, letting the admission hang in the air. But there is something you need to understand about humanity. Something that makes us different from every species in this chamber. A ripple of interest passed through the assembly. The Verith delegate, a floating mass of bioluminescent tendrils pulsed with colors that translated as skepticism. The Cathresh ambassador, insectoid and ancient, clicked its mandibles in what might have been amusement. We feel pain, Chen said simply. The silence that followed was absolute. Not the silence of awe, but of confusion. Finally, the eldest responded, its crystalline structure refracting light in patterns of incomprehension. Clarify. All species experience damage warnings. Neural alerts to tissue compromise are universal among biological entities. Chen shook her head. No, not like us. She reached into her pocket slowly, drawing out a simple blade. The security fields around her flickered but held. They had approved this demonstration. When other species suffer injury, you receive information. A notification that repair is needed. Correct? The Verith pulsed affirmation. The Cathresh clicked agreement. Around the chamber, dozens of species confirmed her statement in their various ways. For humans, Chen continued, raising the blade, it is not information. She pressed the edge against her palm, drawing a thin line of red. Her face contorted, muscles tightening involuntarily, breath hissing between clenched teeth. It is agony. It is suffering. It consumes the mind, demands attention, drowns out reason with pure sensation. Blood dripped from her hand onto the pristine floor. The gathered species watched, their confusion deepening. They could see the biological damage, could measure the chemical responses in her body, but they could not understand why her entire posture had changed, why tears formed at the corners of her eyes, why she trembled. You are malfunctioning, the Cathresh stated flatly. Your damage alert system is catastrophically oversensitive. This would be a severe evolutionary disadvantage. Chen laughed, a sound edged with the pain still radiating from her palm. That's what we thought too. For centuries we wondered why evolution would curse us this way. Why would natural selection preserve something so debilitating? She wrapped her hand in cloth, the white fabric blooming red. We found the answer when we met you. All of you. The eldest leaned forward, its geometry shifting with interest. Explain. You fight wars, Chen said. We've studied your histories. Conflicts spanning centuries, millions dead, entire worlds reduced to ash. But your soldiers don't break. They don't flee. They don't suffer trauma that echoes through generations. She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. Because you don't feel what we feel. Damage is data. Death is calculated risk. Violence is mathematics. And for humans, the Verath pulsed, colors shifting to something that might have been understanding. For humans, violence is hell. Chen's voice dropped, became harder. Every wound is torture. Every death is witnessed agony. Every battle is fought not just against the enemy but against our own bodies screaming at us to stop, to flee, to do anything but continue forward into pain. She held up her wrapped hand. And yet we do. We walk into fire. We charge into bullets. We endure injuries that would stop any of you simply because they would register as non-optimal. And we keep fighting through agony you cannot even imagine. The chamber was silent again, but this time it was different. This time, there was something approaching comprehension in the air. 3 months ago, Chen continued, the Vorax swarm attacked our colony on Theta Primus. You received our distress call. You debated sending aid. You calculated risk versus reward. Her voice hardened. We sent 3 ships, 216 humans. They knew the odds. They knew most of them would die in pain so terrible that your species would simply shut down from the neural load. They went anyway, the eldest said softly, its harmonics carrying something new. Respect, perhaps? Or fear. They went anyway, Chen confirmed. And they saved 17,000 colonists while bleeding, burning, and breaking. Because that's what humans do. We have evolved to survive pain itself. She stepped back from the center platform, blood still seeping through the cloth around her palm. You asked what humanity offers the Council. We offer this. When the galaxy faces something so terrible that even your advanced species calculate retreat as the optimal choice, we will be the ones who feel every moment of horror and fight anyway. The vote was delayed. Chen had expected that. The Council needed time to process, to verify, to understand if humanity's claim was genuine or elaborate theater. She spent the next 2 weeks in her quarters aboard the diplomatic station, watching the void beyond her window and wondering if she had made the right choice. The summons came at what her body still insisted was 3 in the morning Earth time. Not to the Council chamber, but to a location on the station she'd never visited. The message was simple. Verification required. Come alone. The corridor leading to Section 7 was older than human civilization. The walls bore the marks of countless species who had walked here, scoring from Cathresh claws, chemical stains from Verath passage, crystalline deposits from the eldest themselves. Chen's footsteps echoed in the emptiness, each sound swallowed by the ancient dark. The chamber she entered was small, circular, with a single chair at its center. Standing around the perimeter were 3 beings. A Verath she didn't recognize, a Cathresh warrior bearing scars from 100 campaigns, and something else entirely. The third creature was humanoid but wrong. Too many joints, skin that shifted between states of matter, eyes that seemed to look through multiple dimensions simultaneously. Ambassador Chen, the Verath pulsed, colors shifting through spectrums human eyes couldn't fully process. I am Coordinator Vesh. We must verify your claims before the Council proceeds. The implications are too significant for uncertainty. Chen nodded slowly, her pulse quickening. What do you need from me? The Cathresh warrior stepped forward, and Chen noticed for the first time the device it carried. It looked like a medical instrument, all chrome surfaces and precise angles, but there was something ominous in the way it was held. You claim your species experiences pain as a consuming sensation. We have constructed a device based on your neural scans. It will stimulate the relevant pathways directly. You want to torture me? Chen said flatly. We want to understand, the impossible third being said, its voice like wind through broken glass. I am Scholar Ixthal of the Convergence. My species exists partially outside your dimension. We have observed humanity with great interest since your emergence, but this claim challenges everything we know about evolutionary biology. It gestured toward the chair with too many fingers. If you speak truth, you will endure something we cannot comprehend. If you deceive, you will simply sit in a chair for a few moments and fail to react. Chen looked at the device, at the chair, at the 3 beings who represented species so advanced that humanity was barely visible on their timeline of existence. She thought of the 216 who had gone to Theta Primus. She thought of every human who had ever walked into fire for someone else. She sat down. The restraints were gentle but absolute. The Cathresh warrior approached with the device, placing it against her temple with surprising delicacy. We will begin with a minimal setting, it said, equivalent to minor tissue damage. Please indicate when you feel the sensation. Chen's hands gripped the armrests. I'm ready. The world became fire. It wasn't actually fire. Some distant part of her brain knew that. It was neural stimulation, signals sent directly to pain receptors without any corresponding injury. But her body didn't care about the distinction. Every nerve ending in her left arm erupted into screaming agony, as if she'd plunged it into boiling acid. She heard screaming, realized it was coming from her. Her back arched against the restraints, muscles spasming involuntarily. Tears streamed down her face. Her vision blurred, tunneled, the room becoming nothing but pain and the desperate animal need to make it stop. And then it did. Chen slumped in the chair, gasping, trembling. Sweat soaked her clothing. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might tear itself apart. The three observers stood motionless, and she realized with sudden clarity that they were shocked. That was 1%, the Kthresh said quietly. 1% of the device's range, equivalent to a minor burn. Chen tried to speak, couldn't, swallowed hard, and tried again. Again, she rasped. Ambassador, Vesh began, colors pulsing concern. Again, Chen repeated, her voice stronger now despite the trembling. You need to understand. That's the point. Do it again. Higher. Ixthal's multidimensional eyes studied her with something approaching awe. Why? You have proven the point. We believe you. Because, Chen said, forcing herself upright in the chair, you need to see what we do with it. She met each of their gazes in turn. The pain isn't what makes us special. It's what we do despite the pain. Again, 10% this time. The Kthresh warrior looked at its companions. Some silent communication passed between them. Then it adjusted the device. This time Chen was ready. This time she knew what was coming. It didn't matter. When the pain hit, both arms now, chest, legs, everywhere at once, it was a tsunami of agony that obliterated thought. Her body convulsed. Her voice tore itself raw with screaming. Every cell in her body begged for death, for unconsciousness, for anything but this endless, burning, drowning, crushing sensation. But this time, through the pain, she forced her hand to move. Inch by inch, fighting against her own nervous system's desperate attempts to shut down, she raised her right hand, held it up, gave a thumbs up. The device deactivated. Chen collapsed again, barely conscious, bile rising in her throat. She was distantly aware of Vesh rushing forward, of medical scanners sweeping over her body, but she could see Ixthal's expression, all of its expressions, across multiple dimensions of existence, and she saw something that might have been the first time that ancient being had ever experienced fear. Now you understand, Chen whispered. That's a fraction of what our soldiers endure. And they fight. They complete missions. They save people. While feeling that, she managed a weak smile. Still think we're defective? The Kthresh warrior touched its mandibles in a gesture she'd learned meant deep respect. No, Ambassador Chen. We think you might be the bravest species in the galaxy. Or the most insane. Perhaps both. Probably both, Chen agreed and passed out. Chen woke in medical bay to the news that had changed everything. While she'd been unconscious, recovering from her demonstration, the galaxy had learned why the Council moved so quickly, why they needed humanity's answer now, why 3 ancient species had felt compelled to verify her claims personally. The Devourers had returned. She found the information in her neural feed, downloaded while she slept. The Devourers, the galaxy's oldest nightmare, a species of living ships that consumed matter and energy with equal hunger. They had been dormant for 15,000 years, sleeping in the void between galaxies. Now they were awake. Now they were coming. And the Council, for all its ancient wisdom and technological supremacy, had calculated the odds. Without something to change the equation, the galaxy would fall within a century. The emergency session of the Council convened 6 hours later. Chen attended despite the medical team's protests, despite the way her body still trembled with phantom pains from the demonstration. The chamber was different now. The careful distance, the polite skepticism, all of it had burned away, leaving only desperate hope and barely concealed fear. The Devourers move slowly, the eldest explained, its harmonics tight with stress, but they are inexorable. Our fleets can damage them, but our crews calculate optimal retreat when casualties exceed acceptable parameters. We fight efficiently. We fight rationally, but the Devourers care nothing for efficiency or rationality. They simply consume. Show me, Chen said. The hologram that materialized above the chamber floor showed a battle from the last Devourer incursion. She watched as an advanced fleet, ships more sophisticated than anything humanity had dreamed of building, engaged a single Devourer vessel. The alien ship was organic, writhing, wrong. It absorbed weapons fire, adapted, learned. And when the Council fleet's casualties reached 12%, they withdrew. Calculated, rational, optimal. The Devourer consumed the colony they'd been defending, 3 billion souls. They withdrew because the math said to, Chen said softly. They withdrew because dying pointlessly serves no purpose, Vesh replied, colors sharp with defensive anger. Sentiment does not defeat the devourers. Mathematics does. Strategy does. And the mathematics say we need a species that will not retreat when the equation demands it. Chen looked around the chamber at the assembled species. Ancient beyond measure, wise beyond calculation, advanced beyond imagination. And afraid you need a hammer, she said. A crude, brutal weapon that doesn't care about elegant solutions. You need someone stupid enough to keep fighting when every rational being knows it's hopeless. We need heroes, Ixthal corrected, its voice surprisingly gentle across dimensions. We have warriors. We have strategists. We have technologies that can reshape reality itself. But we do not have beings who will hold the line when the mathematics say to run. We do not have a species that has evolved to survive suffering itself. The eldest crystals rotated, light refracting through angles that didn't quite exist in three-dimensional space. Humanity is granted membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities therein. Furthermore, humanity is granted authority to form and command the Vanguard fleet, a force designed to engage the Devourers at close range, to hold positions past optimal retreat points, to sacrifice themselves if necessary to buy time for evacuation and strategic repositioning. Chen felt the weight of those words settle over her like a physical thing. The Vanguard fleet, a suicide force. Humanity's gift to the galaxy would be their willingness to die in agony, while others escape to fight another day. We accept, she said. Because what else could she say? This was why humanity had reached for the stars. Not to escape Earth's problems, but to find bigger problems that needed solving. On one condition, the chamber tensed. The eldest's geometry sharpened. You are in no position to make demands, young species. Not a demand, Chen corrected. A request. You've spent millions of years fighting the Devourers with calculation and strategy. It hasn't worked. You need to understand how humans fight, how we think, how we turn pain into fuel instead of letting it stop us. She stood straighter despite her exhaustion. I want human tactical advisors attached to every major fleet. I want our psychological warfare specialists studying the Devourers. I want our philosophers and artists and poets helping you understand that sometimes the irrational choice is the right one. You want to infect us with your madness, the Cathresh warrior said, but its mandibles clicked with something that might have been admiration. I want to teach you that courage isn't the absence of fear or pain, Chen said. It's feeling those things and moving forward anyway. You've optimized yourselves into a corner. You've made yourselves too wise to be brave. She smiled, and there was something fierce in it. Let us show you what stupidity can accomplish. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would join the council. Humanity would form the Vanguard fleet. And humanity would teach the galaxy's oldest civilizations something they had forgotten in their millions of years of existence, that some things are worth suffering for. That pain is not always a warning to stop. That sometimes the only way forward is through hell itself. As Chen left the chamber, Ixthal appeared beside her, its multi-dimensional form casting shadows that defied geometry. You know that most of your Vanguard fleet will die, it said quietly. The mathematics are clear. Holding those positions past optimal retreat points will result in catastrophic casualties. I know, Chen said. And humans will still volunteer. We'll still go. We'll still fight through pain we cannot imagine, for people they have never met, of species they barely know. Yes. Ixthal was silent for a long moment, its impossible eyes studying her across dimensions. Then perhaps there is hope after all. Perhaps the Devourers will learn what every enemy of humanity eventually learns. That the species that feels the most pain is also the hardest to break. Chen looked out at the stars, at the vast galaxy that humanity had just inherited the responsibility to defend. Somewhere out there, the Devourers were coming. Somewhere out there, human ships would form a line and hold it past all reason, past all calculation, past the point where pain should stop them. And they would not break, because that's what humans did.